wine, debauchery, ecstasy, excess, under his spell, rips apart her son in a fit of frenzy, although she is well within her rights to do so. So I was like, we think of these ancient Greek dramas as like dry classics for the stage, but it's a horror novel, it's a horror story. So I wanted to, when I thought of what would I write, I have a degree in classics, which I need to stop saying because I'm like the world's worst classicist. I can't even say I'm a classicist. I'm the world's worst person to graduate from the Harvard Greek department. Literally. They didn't want to give me honors. I wanted to, that was the story that came to mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And now, you wrote some books with Kobe Bryant.
Yep.
And was that when you first when you had that collaboration going when you went to Greece?
Well, I've been to Greece before because of
Studying.
my interest in classics.
Yeah.
And he sent me on a trip to Greece, which is kind of wild, that I didn't want to go on because I thought you didn't need, I'd been to Greece. I know Greek mythology really well. And I was sort of irritated by the idea that you needed to, it just seemed like superfluous and it seemed over the top to send his writer on this like sort of trip to Greece. Our book was set in Greece, but not like really. And he insisted. And also it was like a free trip to Greece. So I don't know why I kept saying no. It was a weird moment in my life where I thought I did not want to go on this trip. And then I went, and it unlocked that whole book I was writing for him. That all came together. And it was an amazing trip. Like, he did not come, but he somehow organized everything, what we had to see, tours we had to take. But but for some reason, he had sent a friend of mine who was also writing for him. I got her that gig to Florence, and it was all very educational, and they were in, museums and cooking classes. And we just were sent to sit on these 2 Greek islands for 10 days. It was very strange, with one day visiting the Acropolis in Athens. And one of the islands was Naxos, where this book is set. And that sort of inspired me to start thinking about the Bacchae again, because Naxos is the Hellenic home of Dionysus. I need to be clear, Dionysus is not actually from Greece. He's from Anatolia, Turkey, or Syria, or Persia, which is sort of part of the plot of the Bacchae, because he's a foreigner and he's come and he's bringing like revelry and, for all purposes, drugs to, and women are taking part in this and they're feeling emancipated and having a good time. But in Greek tradition, his home is Naxos. So I had just been there a couple years before. I came up with the idea for the book, and I was like, oh, I'm going to set it there. I know it. Thank you, Kobe.
And then the Maenads, is that?
The Maenads, yes, thank you. You can say the Bacchants or the Maenads. Maenads is proper.
Is that the way to say it?
Yep.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those are the followers of Dionysus.
So we'll dig deeper in and talk about the dramatis personae, as they would say. But you ingeniously kind of mix, contemporary rave culture and stuff like that into this story. Did you have that when you were approaching? How am I gonna? What's my way into this? Did it start with some of those?
No, oddly, that came last.
Okay.
The story came first. In the play, there's a king, Pentheus. He's the king of Thebes. And Dionysus has arrived in Thebes, and he is causing havoc. The women have followed him up into the mountains, and they are reveling. And Pentheus's mom, Agave, has joined the crowd and is having a great time. And Pentheus tries to put an end to it and gets into this heated clash with Dionysus. I was thinking about a modern day version of this, and I thought about a son who doesn't want his mom to, I hate this verb, to party, but I don't know another verb. And so I changed it. He's a hotelier. He's taken over his dad's hotel business. He's sort of an upstart young man, not as talented as his father. His mother has been oppressed by her ex-husband who's dead. So I thought of all that, and I got it all set up. And, they're in Greece, and they're trying to build this hotel, or open the hotel it's built. And the son, at this is him stepping into his father's shoes. He's become in charge, and his mom meets a group of people on the beach, and she starts to be interested in what they're doing down there. In my first iteration of the book, well, in the first pass, though people on the beach were refugees from, Syria or other places around Greece, where not around Greece, but where people come to Greece. There's a huge conflict in Greece, as most people know, between these giant, I don't want to say refugee camps, but like refugee, almost like mini cities on the beaches, and the sort of both tourism culture as well as the local culture of Greece. And I was trying to do that, and I knew I wanted a Dionysian character there, and I thought maybe he could be leading a band of refugees. And then I wrote it, and my editor looked at it, and she said, "This isn't quite working." And I said, "Yeah, I don't like it." And then I said, "Well, why don't I just make it fun? Why don't I make it like people raving on the beach? Like, the word rave is called a rave for a reason, and there's, get out of your mind. I know a lot about rave culture, and I know a lot about dance culture, and I know a lot. Well, I know a lot about like late night party culture. Let's just say, it's a huge part of my life. Maybe too big at one point. And I was like, wait, I know this stuff really well. Why don't I just write about it and make it fun? My agent was like, my editor, she was like, thank God, yeah, do something really fun. And then I realized I had to make the person on the beach a woman, because it couldn't be a man. It has to be a woman leading a band of women who the women up in the hotel are interested in.
Right, and then you have the character Naxos.
Naxos, yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, he's a DJ. Maybe more than a DJ. So people love the DJ. Like, that's just it. You go to a party, everyone wants to know the DJ. And DJs sort of have a cult following. There's something about someone standing behind a bar or turntables that makes other people kind of go crazy. Like, you want that, access. And the DJ sort of is controlling you with the music. And so I took it a step further. He's got a little more going on. I don't want to say exactly. But, Bacchus is a DJ. He's on the festival circuit. This is a small part of the book. The majority of the book is about the conflict between the family dynamic and the leader of this cult of women on the beach. But there is a part of it that does sort of go through rave culture and the highs and the lows of that.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about the main group of characters.
Sure.
Lena, she's widowed, has a really interesting backstory. She was a ballerina.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about her.
Sure. So, I was a professional athlete for many years. I played a sport called squash, and back in the day when I was playing, it wasn't very financially, it was kind of hard to make money, even at the top of the squash rankings. I was not at the top. I was, for all intents and purposes, highly ranked in the world. I was ranked 38. But that wasn't setting the world on fire, And there was this idea of, you lose early in a tournament, you're stuck in a really nice place. Should you go enjoy yourself? Should you train? What is it like not to make it? I knew I could have been in the top, moved up, but I also knew I wanted to do something else with my life. Lena's a dancer, and she's not the best. Her friend Hetty, who's with her, is better. Hetty is messing up her dance career by partying too much. Lena is just not quite as good. She hasn't made it. She was like the best dancer in her company in the Midwest. She got to the Frankfurt Ballet, and she is no longer the best. So she's sort of cut. This is the backstory. This is not happening now. And so they go on this vacation to Crete, and which is actually a vacation I went on with one of my best friends. And we kind of got into a bit of a disagreement on this trip. Like, I wanted to go see the Naxos, where the Minotaur lived, just apparently. And she was like, culture, what are you doing? Like, let's party and have a good time. In the book, the women have had that fight, and then they go back to the hotel And Lena picks up a really rich older man and winds up marrying him very quickly, and knows, because she knows she's not going to make it as a dancer. So she chooses this like gilded cage back in San Francisco, and her life has been from 21 to, I guess she's 58 now, a socialite in San Francisco. Her friend was sort of a wild child, never quite made it, but her friend is happy and Lena isn't. So now they're on this trip and they're sort of reflecting on the decisions they made in the past. Lena's been oppressed by her husband. She's very pretty, but she's brittle. She's dried up. She's had no identity for 30 odd years. And her friend has always been more boisterous and loud and messy, has no career I don't even know what her career is. I should probably know the answer to that. But she's happy. And so they've sort of come back to Greece, where their friendship split apart, and they're sort of having a reckoning with the choices they made in life.
And then Hetty is the
friend,
right? And she's gradually losing her sight.
Yes.
She has macular degeneration.
Yes.
And that seems to be that plays a role in the book. Where she's over time, it's just going away gradually.
Yeah, she has something to lose, and so this. It's also sort of in. I don't know which came first: the decision to make her losing her sight, or the fact that when I reread the play, again, I remembered Tiresias, the blind prophet, is blind, and he is sort of intrigued by joining Dionysus on the beach to see what's going on down there. Hetty has something to lose, and her daylight is waning. She can't really see very much anymore. It's really bad. So she wants to sort of enjoy herself before she can't see what she's enjoying. And so she's sort of a foil to Lena, who is more hesitant at first. Lena's had everything you could possibly want out of life except happiness, and Hetty's only had happiness but sort of never had stability or, vision.
Is Hetty kind of almost like the oracle of the book in some ways?
A little bit. I mean, she's an oracle. She's more just sort of. She
gets the last word, right?
She definitely gets the last word because she sees what's going on for what it is.
Yeah.
And she sees the dark side of, party culture and the dark side of freedom. Because I don't want to land too heavily on the idea that complete freedom and drug-fueled abandon. They're not really doing drugs. They're doing something else. Well, it adds up to drugs. But drug-fueled abandon is such a great thing. It can be a really good thing, and there's levels of transcendence that you can achieve. But there is a darkness to it, and I think that, people who sometimes you're not ready. Sometimes you're not ready to see, and maybe there's some things you shouldn't see, and maybe enlightenment is a little challenging. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you about, the son of this father, Drew.
Yes.
There was some place in the book where Lena says, like, I've given birth to an asshole. And,
yes.
And one of the main riffs I kind of wrote down as one of the key ideas throughout the book is this: we bear the monsters that kill us.
Yeah.
And that plays out in lots of different ways, not just traditional.
Yeah, I mean, her husband was sort of monstrous and very, patronizing to her. And I always thought about this, like, I love my daughter. Like, my daughter's awesome. But there are probably many, many, many people out there whose kids are assholes, right? Like, and how do you deal with that? How do you reckon with the fact that your kid is, I don't know, mistreating their employees or, horrible to women? I mean, I don't mean being a criminal or a rapist or like a violent offender. I mean just like an asshole. Like
assholery.
Yeah, and just like, how do you come to terms? It's funny. I saw a pretty bad movie the other night called Companion. It's a pretty stupid AI thing that a million people have done better. Except there's this great moment in it where the son's a total asshole, and his dad just is like, yeah, there's a good guy in there somewhere, but this isn't it. I was like, how does that feel? So she also, they're a white patriarchal family in San Francisco society. It's been reduplicated in the son. I think he's the mirror image of the father. You would think as time goes on, people get more educated, but no, these patterns play out. And, I think she was naive and stupid enough when she got married to imagine that there wouldn't be these rules, and they could continue. There would be some march of progress, but like so much of marriage is actually playing into old-fashioned stereotypes. Poor Lena.
Yeah, well, okay, so Agape Villas.
Agape, I guess. Yeah.
Or Agape, is that how you say
I
it?
think so.
Someone
Someone on
I love that.
someone on NetGalley or some early I don't really read the reviews of my books, but everyone says that, but we actually do. But the first one was like, oh, she didn't like the book, and she's like, and the name of the villa, and then she was like, I mean, she said it agape, and I was like, oh God, no, it's not like it's not like a joke on like mouth wide in terror.
Agape, she thought that's funny.
Yeah.
But I thought
amazing.
it was really interesting. It's this he's created this sort of sanitized, curated facsimile of reality.
Well, that's how they do it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the Agape Villas. Agape means unconditional love in ancient Greek. So I knew this because I knew this family in Uruguay who was building a hacienda, and they asked me to write a fake history of it. But one of my two best friends, he works for a really big hip hotel chain that shall remain nameless, although he doesn't work there anymore. And when they create the hotels, especially the seriously boutique ones, like ones they did in Greece, they have to create this fake narrative for it. So I think the one they did in Greece, and no one would know this, it's not like they advertise it, but they're like, in this hotel, this is a hotel that a shipping magnate built for his lover to remind her. It was like some story to always let her have a safe place to come back to. So they create these narratives. And there's a narrative for this hotel that's sort of bullshit crap. Like I can't remember what it is, but it's based on how they do this. Like there's a narrative, a story that the rooms are going to tell, and that's how they decide, various things, layout, towels. I don't know.
And Drew has arranged a security system that locks everybody inside.
Yes, he
their
does.
Rooms.
He sure does.
Yeah, and each room has an infinity pool.
They're very luxurious. It's villas. There's, I guess there's.
But the beach is right in front of the damn place.
Well, that's like what you do, and like, I mean, I was in Greece, and I was like, there's a hotel pool. And then there's the beach right there, and it's weird. But a lot of people find the beach overwhelming. Vacationers, luxury vacationers find the beach a bit dirty and gross.
Right.
You gotta have the hotel pool. And there's a communal pool, but every villa, it's a villa. There's 12 villas for the 9 muses and the 3 graces, none of the fates. So yeah, I think everyone needs their own private luxury in the house, in their villa. There's a communal pool, which is frowned upon. It's not open, but, and then there's the beach. The beach is a problem because there's a troop of women living there.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about this character, Drew. Do you have any compassion or sympathy for that character?
In the sense that he was raised by a father who was the same way he is, so there probably wasn't a lot of sort of warmth and love and support there, although Lena tried, and he should know better.
Yeah.
Not really. I don't have a lot of compassion for him. There's a whole world of information out there about how we should treat people. He didn't seem to avail himself of that.
Right.
So yeah, no, not too much.
Not so much.
Not so much. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about dance. As you said, dance plays a big role in the book, and dance as a way of as a spiritual way of transcending.
Yeah.
How does it figure into the book? And
I mean, well, at raves and dance parties,
that's the goal,
it's
right?
the activity, and it's very athletic, and you're very tired after you go to one of these festivals. I haven't been to a lot of festivals. I've been to a lot of late night parties. It is fun. It's sort of, it's only fun. It's cathartic. It's it's like a purge. You dance and dance and dance, and people will tell you you'll find, God on the dance floor. I even use that line in the book. It's sort of, unvarnished, and there's no one's judging you for the movement. And then if you sort of watch what people are doing, especially if they're sort of not entirely sober, they're doing these fine micro gestures with their hands, like they're seeing things, and it's really interesting to watch. And people dance all night, people, it's interesting. There's this idea that sort of culture is super unhealthy, but there is a serious amount of athleticism and stamina. I don't advocate for this. My daughter, if you're watching or watch this at some point, just stick with sports. But it's cathartic, and it's a real culture. I think that people dismiss that. They just think it's a bunch of like messed up people taking drugs and getting wild and getting sweaty and doing stupid shit. But like there's a cultural tribalism to it that I think
It's
goes
very, very ancient,
it comes from this. It comes from, well, not just, I am going to say this every time I talk about this book, is mythology comes from all different eras and nations and cultures. I'm primarily educated and versed in classical Greek mythology, so I have a Western Hellenic Greek view of mythology. So yeah, in that origin story, and there are different ones from different cultures. That's mine, or my field of interest. There is this bacchanal reveling where you want to do stuff like this. It's super ancient. There are all these religions and paganism where you just go wild, and I think it's a natural human impulse to want to do things like that.
Right. It's sort of a portal into a different altered state of consciousness.
Absolutely. So technically, you're supposed to be able to appreciate rave music sober, and it gets you the same feeling as doing drugs. And like some people say that's the case. And it's still, if I hear certain songs, you're like, whoa, I feel it. So yeah, I think we have this urge at least some point. That's why there's drinking and stuff. But at least with the dancing and rave culture and like what it comes from the bacchanal, there's this idea of transcendence and this idea that there's parts of yourself you can't access just by being sedentary and stationary.
Right. And it seems like we all crave, how would I say it? We all crave relief from ourselves.
Yes.
And this sort of this idea of breaking through to a deeper reality,
right.
Something we all share, I think. Yeah. But that universal desire is also easily exploited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. It's easily exploited and it's easily abused. Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's now. I live in LA, so it's like part of the cultural conversations. Who's going on an ayahuasca retreat to sort of break through? And now you get like ketamine clinics where like doctors are prescribing ketamine for depression, and which I find extremely strange. But I have friends who I completely respect who are I guess Elon Musk too, who's not a friend of mine. But like people in the straight world are taking ketamine. Like that was a rave drug, and it was. And now it's sort of, things are getting mainstream, I find it mind-boggling. But my friends, people I know...
Microdosing is a big thing.
There's whole meditation circles on... There's a whole school of thought on spiritual awakening, and ketamine is not mine to say yes or no to that. But, these ideas are getting more and more entrenched in modern culture, although they come from somewhere super ancient.
Yeah, we know from reading Joseph Campbell, or at least I did, went through a huge Campbell phase, and he talks a lot specifically about dance, and the different regions like the Polynesia and India, and how they all get to the same place,
I think also, like, I keep talking about drugs, which is a very small part of this book, but I think the idea was that these things are achievable through movement and breath work and sound and a collective coming together in a place where you're all, moving as one in the commonality and community of that. And that's
So how does loose kind of enter into this equation?
Well, she's a drug dealer.
She's
But she's more than that. She's a female business person in a man's field. She's the chorus. She's the narrator of this book. Her sections of the book mimic, for the most part, the Greek choral interludes in the play, Euripides' play, the Bacchae. She's telling a story. She's telling a story about being a woman in a man's world. She's telling a story about what it's like to provide a service in which people, she could kill you. She doesn't kill you. What she sells could possibly kill you. What that power feels like. I'm sort of interested in the power of someone who does something like that. It's got to feel somewhat powerful. And people need you. Like, there's this idea that people are always calling you middle of the night. It's got to feel powerful.
Definitely. Waiting for the man. Or the woman in this.
Yeah, he's waiting for the woman.
Waiting for the woman.
Yep, exactly.
Well, let's talk about violence, because violence is, something you've been exploring in the last.
Love violence.
Yeah, who doesn't? Yeah. There's that great historical. We've traded a lot of book recommendations, and there's that historian Richard Slotkin, who has a book called Regeneration Through Violence,
Fantastic.
which I think is such a great book. And it's also a great title. But this sort of what's been considered taboo in our culture for whatever reason, violence among women, or
Yes.
Yeah,
that's taboo.
it is taboo.
I wrote a book about it.
You wrote,
People had a lot to say.
Yeah.
They really did. Women wouldn't do that. I'm like, shut up. Not all women, but some of them do. It's like you can't even accept one on a book. This book is also about women being slightly violent, let's just say at the end. It's also about a woman in a world that is somewhat dominated by violence, which is drug dealing. It's not like we go see her selling drugs. Really.
Right.
It's not really part of the book. It's
a different type of book, really.
But there's a lot of violence towards the end. It's a horror novel, apparently. I mean, that's what I'm aiming to write. It could be a crime novel. It could be a thriller. It's not really a horror novel in a traditional sense. But I think the other side of violence, especially when women are concerned, is rage. Men are violent for lots of different reasons. But I think when I think about women's violence, it's from like a pent-up level of rage that at some point is going to explode.
Right.
And so the women I write about are violent not because of what has been done to them by men who made them violent, but about, some of them are violent just because they're violent, because some people are just naturally that way, regardless of gender or sex. But the women in this one, they're getting there. Like, there's been a lot. And it's like it's like a boiling kettle, and that steam's going to come out. It's going to come out violently.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I love a good violent woman, as long as it's not a psychological novel in which she does not remember that she was violent. Like, in her other life, she's a serial killer, but most of the time she's like, a newspaper journalist, or that I can't stand. Or someone with like a double life, just own that you're violent.
Yeah, that's a lot comes through in this book for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm single-handedly pecking away at tropes of female violence and domestic suspense.
Going back and rereading this not too long ago, I was thinking about that whole COVID era and the way you recreate it.
Yeah.
In 2020, we just read it for our book group.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And you say you know nothing about Arizona, but it felt like you knew what the hell you were talking about.
Yeah. Because I wrote about a prison out here. That's right.
And also the suburbs felt very...
It's not too different from...
Riverside?
Yeah. Riverside...
La
it's
Quinta.
different Riverside... it's not like La Quinta. Yeah, Riverside's more of a city. More inland. It's not different like Quinta, Indian Wells.
Okay.
It's the same climate.
Banning.
Yeah, exactly. Palm Desert, Palm Springs, a little different, but not climate wise, and urban sprawl.
Right. Right.
Like when you get to this sort of, yeah. So yes, I did. It's tangible to me.
Mm-hmm. Now, how close did you stick to the Bacchae in this book? Did you use that as the general framework and then kind of go off and?
I didn't mean to stick as close as I did. I'd written the setup at the start, and I got them to the hotel, and I, started the conflict, and then I said, "Let me check out the play again." I've read it many times, and then I was like, "Oh, that's what should happen next, and that's what should happen next." Like, I'm gonna actually do this literally, like all the confrontations between Dionysus and Pentheus, Lutz and Drew have. So, and then there's some of the other all the high events. It's the same. It's literal.
Was Hetty's blindness in the original?
Tiresias is blind and he wants to go down to the to go into the mountains to party.
Gotcha.
It's an old dude. He wants to have a good time.
Anybody have questions so far?
He wanted to wear a dress as well.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
The plot thickens.
Yes.
Any questions so far? Not really.
Can you be more specific? I mean, like in my book or or mine? Oh, well, I don't want to go too much into parts of this because it's going to give some of the story away. But I think there's always been this idea that women can commit violence if someone is doing something to a family member of theirs, and that's sort of a legitimized form of female violence. Though in ancient Greek drama, women kill their kids quite a lot, except Medea kills her kid, Agape kills her kid. Except in the Oresteia cycle, which is the one I'm going to hopefully write about next. It's set in motion 10 years after Agamemnon has sacrificed his daughter for a fair wind to Troy. Here's a really good description of female violence in ancient Greek drama and the problem that we have as a society, which I think is probably started back then with the following, which is Agamemnon sacrifices his 14-year-old daughter to get a fair wind to sail to Troy. He lies to her and her mom, Clytemnestra, to say that she's going to be married to, Achilles. And they send her off to the Greek ships, and she's sacrificed, and it's awful, and she knows about it right beforehand. And they go to Troy to fight a pointless war to assuage Agamemnon's brother Menelaus's ego because someone stole his wife. So then he comes back. So Agamemnon comes back to his wife, and he brings his concubine slave with him. So he's brought his new girl back. She's a slave. We don't blame her, Cassandra. But meanwhile, Clytemnestra has started up a relationship with this other guy, Aegisthus. And her husband's gone for 10 years. Like, give the lady a break. She kills him because he sacrificed their daughter. But everyone, and the way it's sort of written is like, that woman was having an affair. Like, what a horrible person. And she and her husband want to take power. And I'm like, he killed the goddamn kid. He sacrificed her daughter. Of course she wants to kill him. Why is this even an issue? Like, this is not even up for debate that you should kill him. That's maternal instinct.
Some kids just need killing.
Yeah, exactly. No, well, I get it. There's not a lot of ways around this needing to get to Troy issue. They need this wind, but he didn't even feel remorseful for it. And he brought a girlfriend back. So his wife goddamn kills him the day he gets home. But the problem is she's having an affair. I don't like it. I mean, I love the play more than anything.
Well, I mean, there is... I don't want to spoil anything in the book, but there's to me, I thought a really key scene, which is when Lena, the sweetheart scene with Drew, where he comes to
Yes.
he comes to his mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's manipulating her, though, a little bit. That one?
Yeah.
That man has no heart.
He's a toughie.
But there is a little push and pull there. Like he wants her to comfort him because things are going wrong, but he can't be there fully for it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked about Jordan at all. And
Drew's wife, yeah.
yeah, what a great character.
Oh, thank you for saying that. So Jordan is marrying Drew, and she, like him, is a double-barreled Ivy grad. So she's gone to 2 Ivy League colleges, university. And so she's getting into a marriage. So she pities Drew's mom, Lena, because she sees her as a trophy wife who can't make any decisions, had no agency, got into this marriage that she probably, knew better than, and just is a product of her own bad decision making, and kind of a dummy because she's a dancer and never went to college. I mean, that's not sad, but Jordan's gone into her marriage eyes open. She's marrying someone of her educational class. She's English, and she thinks she knows what she's doing. And she's married Drew because they're made for each other. They're both from the same type A driven Harvard Business School, true nightmare to me world. Although I have a lot of lovely friends who went there. But she realizes that her fate is not that different from Lena's. Because marriage is a patriarchal institution in which the hierarchy has never been fully dismantled. Even in the most, I with apologies to all my happily married friends, this is something I see in especially, surprisingly, in some of the more affluent elite couples I know, even with very educated women who were lawyers or whatever, stepping away from their careers to do stuff for the family. It's so shocking to me. I'm not married anymore. So maybe, maybe I have a really dim view of the institution. But Jordan thought, oh, well, because I'm smart, this mistake will never happen to me. Not all marriage is a mistake. It's a great, beautiful, wonderful thing if you choose to live that way, and can be really rewarding. And I don't mean to be negative, but I do still see a reinforcement of these old strictures, even the most progressive households. And I find it really, really, really shocking and overwhelming.
Yeah, I know my place. No.
And many men do, but I would see reflections of it. And there was countless articles. You brought up COVID about the burden on women during COVID. And it was like women I knew who are in extremely egalitarian marriages were feeling the brunt of picking up the slack for carrying the social burden. There's been numerous books written about the secret burden of women to carry all this emotional water and keep the calendar, which is like, that's a thing that's real. It's always the women keeping the calendar. Even I have this great couple I'm friends with. They don't want the calendar, but you have to be able to do it. Like, it's unfair. Like, my friend was like, oh, call my wife about that. I'm like, Jesus Christ, for real? Like, why don't you know what's going on next week? How do you not know?
Boy.
Oh, okay.
I don't know,
Yeah.
Ivy.
See?
It's getting hit a little close to home, Ivy.
Yeah, why? It's crazy to me. And was always explaining to my ex-husband, no, on Tuesday, we're going to your best friend's birthday that you're insisting we go to. But on Wednesday, like this is insane.
Who's my best friend?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we're driving back 8 hours to go to this dinner party, but it's on Tuesday. No, I'm making light of a small thing, but there is a sort of, that comes from an old-fashioned idea of marriage, that
Right.
women did this and men did that. And even the coolest, like you guys, couples that I know, it breaks that way, and I think that's insane. Everybody I'll go buy you all a date book on the way out the door.
Yeah.
Start writing it down.
It's a work in progress. What can I say?
I just had a friend of mine and say, oh, my group of women, we have all these
Yeah. Yeah, no, they don't. No.
Well, what's really creepy is this whole trad wife bullshit. That's
Oh, yeah.
that's
Oh,
somehow
trad wife fiction is coming. Trust me, there's going to be like 400 not so great thrillers about trad wives and like 3 really good ones.
Ooh.
Like that could be done very, very well, but it's also going to be done really badly by a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, like sister wives kind of stuff.
I ghost wrote the Sister Wives tell-all.
Are you serious?
Yes, I am very serious.
This conversation has taken an unexpected turn.
The TLC family, the Sister Wives. That's what you're
Holy
talking
shit,
about.
really?
Yeah, I wrote that book.
Well, do tell.
They forgot to thank me in it. That was part of the deal. They thanked God. They think he wrote it, but no, I did. It was really weird. I mean,
did you have to do research?
I had to go stay with them for a long time in Las Vegas.
Oh my God!
Spent 2 weeks in Henderson, Nevada, with the Sister Wives.
We'll be talking at dinner about this.
I didn't live with them, but let me tell you this: they all started with, they call it what's it called? Living the blessing or living the prophecy. What I can't remember. I wrote it a long time ago. Whatever the word for it was. They all say whatever they're fresh is. It's a blessing, right? It's such a beautiful thing, and we're so lucky to not. It's like we're so lucky not to have to sleep with this guy every night. I can share it with other people. It's like so twisted.
Where did you have to go? Did you go to
their
Utah?
house-
Or?
No, they'd fled Utah. They were living in Henderson, Nevada.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
and
you
the
just
show
said
was
that.
paying for them to live, and each had like a little like suburban mansion-y thing. But the more I talked to each one of them, I don't want to throw my sister wife under the bus, but, and then would say something absolutely awful, and then would be like, admit to being jealous, and then also was like, you guys are so unhappy. I have a lot of stories about it.
Wow. Did you happen to notice a lot of trampolines up there?
I saw a few trampolines.
Did you?
Yeah.
I think it's a thing.
In Henderson?
Mormon.
Yeah, they did have trampolines.
Did you notice that?
I just
thought
remember
it
we
was
were in the
urban
backyard.
le-
There was a trampoline in 2 of the houses. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to offend anybody, but I mean,
It's a good,
It's a thing.
wholesome activity.
it's a thing. Is that?
I guess.
Yeah. We'll have to dig deeper into that.
I'll ask my Mormon friend.
Yeah, definitely. So okay. So what's next? You're working on. Are you adapting another kind of Greek?
Yeah, I'm going to
tragedy?
adapt the Oresteia cycle, the story I told you about Clytemnestra killing her husband, but getting dinged for having an affair. My favorite. That's a whole cycle with the retribution of violence at the house of Atreus. I'm excited.
Have you started it, or do you have a?
I wrote
draft
the.
going?
I know. I'm not going to write for a while. I've had a rough year. So I need a little break. I love taking breaks from writing, because like the story like gets like by when I have time to write again, the story's just gonna like at least the first. It's usually I have it like the first third, and there's like a burst of 3 months, and I have the first third, and I'm like, oh god damn it, what happens next? Shit. But I'll start then. I need a minute. But I like it happened during COVID when I couldn't write Sing Her Down. Or the book that would become Sing Her Down. I had the idea, but I was taking care of my daughter 24 hours a day because it was COVID and I'm her mom. There's, not her dad. I mean, her dad was sort of working, but I just somehow wound up doing. He was writing, and he had been on a TV show, so he needed some time to write. And I said I'd take care of Loretta, which is great because I love her more than anything. And I couldn't write, and then I couldn't write until we got our babysitter to come back, or it was safe enough for her to come back, and I got 2 hours a day. So for 6 months, I had this idea for a book, and I let it sit, and I would take an hour and a half walk every day. It's the only time I had a break, 1 hour to 1.5 hours a day. And then I would get there. I would the whole thing was in my head, but I had to wait 6 months. And when I sat down to write, I wrote it an hour a day for the first 6 months of COVID because all I had. I was like, it just came out. It was great. And then I didn't know what I was doing, and I got stuck.
So it was all percolating.
Percolating, it's exploding. Yeah.
Wow. Well, God, there's so much I wanted to get into. I mean, you've had a fascinating life. You've done a lot of different things. What you're teaching right now out in Palm Desert?
I teach at University of California, Riverside's low residency MFA program in Palm Desert, where we teach you how to get published.
How is that? Do you enjoy it?
It's the best.
Really?
I love it.
And your boss is one Todd Goldberg,
My boss is Todd Goldberg.
our good friend, who's probably watching.
I don't think
Hey-
he is. We just finished residency.
Oh,
I think Todd is like on the couch watching crap TV,
probably.
eating Trader Joe's snacks.
But then you also taught on Skid Row, didn't you?
I still do. I mean, I took a little break this year because I had some family issues. But yeah, I'll go back in the fall. I teach once a month. I'm sorry. I used to teach once a week. Teach a creative writing program in Skid Row for artists and writers in the Skid Row community.
Is there like a clinic or?
It's at the Skid. Well, we used to teach at a mission, like a multi-purpose mission, multi-platform mission called. Used to be called LAMP, and then it changed the People Concern, and there was an art room there for members of that particular mission or who used that for their services. But now I teach at the independently run Skid Row History Museum and Archive, which is in Skid Row. It's a little museum.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else have it? Whoa! Before we go, any TV stuff going on?
I just optioned These Women again, so I'm really excited.
Right.
Yeah. To Sony, to the people who made Long Bright River. So
Would it-
maybe this time.
Would it be a limited series or a
I
feature?
think so. Limited series for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You always get asked these weird questions like, do you see a way to expand this into another series? And someone optioned Singer down. We're like, how could we make a season 2? And I was like, have you read the end of that book? No.
Can we do Ecstasy on Ice?
Yeah, totally.
You know,
Ecstasy Part 2.
With
They all come back.
Muppets on Ice.
Actually, it could be in the underworld. It could be in Hades.
Claymation.
That'd be great.
That would be awesome. Anyway.
Maybe then we could palette female violence if done in claymation.
Yeah. Well, I think that's an excellent place to stop. Thanks so much, Ivy. It's
Thank
been
you,
great
Patrick. It's always
talking
such
with
a
ya.
treat talking to you.
Thanks,
And this-
everybody. And thanks, everybody online who's tuning in. Good night.